I remember the first time I sat in the new Sportage and then hopped back into a CX-5 right after. It felt like jumping between two totally different worlds. Both are trying to win over the same kind of buyer, but yeah, they're just damn not the same. And clearly, one is better than the other. Hello everyone, this is Scott from CarlandTV. It's time to get in the front seat as today, we're heading into one of the most interesting matchups in the compact SUV game, which is the 2025 Kia Sportage versus the 2025 Mazda CX-5. If you're stuck between the two, buckle up because I've got some thoughts. Before I start, I would really appreciate it if you would push those buttons below. The subscribe button, the notification bell, all of them. This is not necessary, but those little clicks help a brother out. Plus, it pushes me to give you more valuable car-related content on your screen. Now buckle up and let's get back to the video. First time I saw the 2025 Sportage in person, I'll be honest, I had to do a double take. That front end is wild. Between the boomerang-style LED DRLs and that huge blacked-out grille that kinda eats up the whole nose, it has this futuristic, almost concept car vibe. Kia definitely went bold, and it stands out, no doubt about it. From the sharp body creases to the aggressive rear spoiler and gloss black trim on the X-Line or X-Pro trims, it feels like it was built to grab attention, especially in that jungle green or wolf gray. And with wheel options going all the way up to 19 inches on higher trims, plus that slightly lifted stance on the off-road trims, the Sportage has a sort of rugged modern look that's hard to miss. But the thing is, it has a loud design. It doesn't blend in. You're either into it or you're not. And I've had buyers straight up say it looks too weird for their taste. That's where the CX-5 takes a totally different route. The Mazda doesn't need sharp angles or massive grills to turn heads. It does it with clean lines and perfect proportions. I've always said the CX-5 looks like it was carved, not stamped. That Kodo design philosophy is real, and in person you can see how the whole body flows. There's no unnecessary flair, just smooth curves and tight bodywork that gives it this quiet confidence. The front grille is more refined, framed by slim LED headlights with a slightly aggressive brow, but nothing overdone. And let me tell you, Mazda's paint quality is hands down one of the best in the non-luxury space. And that Soul Red crystal, you see that under sunlight and it looks like it came off a car costing double. Panel gaps are tight, the shut lines are consistent, and everything just feels better put together. Even little touches like how the taillights wrap into the fenders or how the trim follows the shape of the body. It's thoughtful, not just thrown on. So yeah, the Sportage is bold and in your face, but the CX-5 has this timeless clean sheet design that ages like a fine whiskey. You park the two side by side, and it really comes down to whether you want flashy or classy. The moment I got behind the wheel of the CX-5, I remember thinking that this doesn't feel like a $30,000 crossover. And honestly, it still surprises people when they sit in one for the first time. The materials are on another level for this class. Soft touch padding on all the right spots, real stitching on the dash, and if you're in a higher trim like the Signature, that Nappa leather is buttery smooth. Even the base trims feel put together. There's no gimmicks in here. Everything is clean, logical, and feels like it was designed for someone who drives. I've had folks in test drives tell me they love how everything is pointed toward the driver, and I agree. There's a kind of cocoon-like feel that makes you feel locked in without being cramped. The buttons are tactile and easy to reach, and nothing is buried in a touchscreen. It's the kind of interior that doesn't show off, but the more time you spend in it, the more you appreciate how thoughtfully it's laid out. The seats are on the firmer side, but supportive. You can drive a few hours in this thing and not feel sore. Rear legroom is definitely not class-leading, I'll admit that. But unless you've got really tall passengers in the back, nobody complains. Now when I jumped into the 2025 Sportage, especially one of the SX Prestige models, it felt like stepping into a spaceship compared to the Mazda. That dual 12.3-inch curved screen setup? Yeah, it's flashy as hell, and honestly, it looks really sharp in person. The way it stretches across the dash gives the cabin this wide, high-tech vibe that's super appealing, especially for buyers who want something modern. The Sportage definitely has more rear legroom and overall passenger space. If you've got kids or regularly haul folks in the back, you're gonna notice the difference. The seats are softer than the CX-5s and have more cushion, which some folks like, though I personally found them a little less supportive on longer drives. Where the Sportage starts to lose me, though, is in the controls. That HVAC audio touch bar, they call it a quote-unquote multi-function switch, is cool looking, but man, I've hit the wrong thing more than once just trying to adjust the fan speed. It has a lot of flash, but not always functional. Notably, Kia's materials have gotten way better. I give them that. But Mazda still feels tighter and more refined when you start paying attention to panel fit and how solid the buttons and knobs feel. So yeah, the Sportage is impressive, especially on the tech front, but the CX-5's interior still feels like the one built by people who love the details. When it comes to tech, the Sportage definitely grabs more eyeballs the second you fire it up, especially on the SX Prestige or X Pro Prestige trims. That massive dual 12.3-inch curved screen setup really does look slick in person, super crisp resolution, and it gives the dash this futuristic, wraparound vibe that feels like it belongs in something way more expensive. Plus, Kia gives you wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on most trims, which is super convenient. I've had people bring that up a lot when they're comparing the two. Now, with the CX-5, it's a completely different approach. Mazda went for a cleaner, distraction-free layout with a fixed 10.25-inch screen controlled by a rotary dial down on the center console. I'll be honest, some people don't love the lack of touchscreen functionality while driving, but once you get used to that dial, it's second nature, and it's actually damn safer to use on the move. You're not poking at icons while doing 60 on the highway. And finally, Mazda CX-5 now offers wireless CarPlay and Android Auto, which is a big upgrade in 2025. Paired with their native interface that is fast, simple, and doesn't try to do too much, the setup is pretty much impressive already. In terms of sound quality, the CX-5's optional Bose system definitely sounds more polished than the upgraded Harman Kardon in the Sportage, at least to my ears. Voice controls in both are decent, but nothing revolutionary. So yeah, if you want the flashiest dashboard and wireless tech, Kia takes the edge, but if you're about usability and real-world ergonomics, Mazda keeps it simple, and sometimes that's the better play. I've driven both of these back-to-back more times than I can count, and I'm telling you right now, if you care even a little about how your SUV feels behind the wheel, the CX-5 hits differently. Mazda gives you two engine options: a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder and a turbocharged version of that same motor. The base engine's not going to win any races, but it's smooth, and it has just enough punch for daily driving. It doesn't feel gutless like some other base engines in this segment. But the turbo? Man, that one wakes the whole thing up. With 256 horsepower on premium fuel, you feel the torque come on low and strong, especially when you're merging or punching it from a stoplight. I've taken it on the highway and through the twists, and it's responsive without being twitch. It is just a solid, linear power band that makes the drive feel more premium than the price suggests. The Sportage's 2.5-liter gas engine puts out similar numbers to Mazda's base engine, but it feels more relaxed. It's fine for city driving, but when you push it, there's not a whole lot of urgency. The hybrid version in the Sportage has more kick, and I've got to admit, it pulls strong in a straight line thanks to the electric assist, but it still doesn't have that visceral connection the Mazda delivers. Now, one of the biggest things folks overlook is the transmission, and I've had conversations with buyers where this was a deal breaker. Mazda sticks to a 6-speed automatic, and I know some people hear that and think, only 6 gears? Sounds outdated. But let me tell you, it shifts exactly when you want it to. There's no hesitation, no hunting, no overthinking like you sometimes get with these newer 8 or 10-speed setups. It feels like it knows what you're doing before you do. The Sportage's 8-speed is smoother than I expected, and I'll give Kia credit. It's a big step forward from the old 6-speed they used to run. But it still doesn't feel as dialed in. It'll upshift too early sometimes, especially in eco mode, and the throttle response can feel a little muted unless you really put your foot in it. And if you're looking at the Sportage Hybrid, that eCVT gets the job done when it comes to efficiency, but it's just not something that feels particularly engaging. There's that typical CVT drone when you get on it, and while it's smoother than older CVTs, it still has that disconnected vibe. Steering feel is another area where these two split. The first time I drove the CX-5 on a tight 2-lane with a few curves, I was genuinely surprised by how composed it felt. Steering has actual weight to it. It's not heavy but deliberate. You feel what the tires are doing, and when you turn, it reacts like a car, not a top-heavy crossover. The chassis feels tight, and there's this confidence in the way it takes a corner or even just a quick lane change at highway speed. The Sportage, on the other hand, leans more toward comfort. It's soft over bumps and forgiving on rough roads, which a lot of buyers like, especially for family duty. But when I hustled one around a curve, there was a noticeable body roll and the steering was light and vague, not much road feel coming back through the wheel. It's a fine commuter, but it's not something that makes you want to take the long way home. The hybrid adds a bit of weight to the batteries, and it smooths out the ride even more, but it still lacks the feedback and balance you get from the CX-5. If saving at the pump is high on your list, the Kia Sportage, especially the hybrid, is going to have your attention real quick. I've seen folks averaging around 38 to 42 miles per gallon in real-world use with the hybrid version, which lines up with the EPA numbers that peg it at 43 miles per gallon in cities and 36 miles per gallon on highways. The regular gas model isn't bad either, getting around 25 miles per gallon in the city and 33 miles per gallon on the highway, depending on the trim and whether you've got an all-wheel drive. Now, the Mazda CX-5 is not exactly built with max efficiency in mind. The base 2.5-liter non-turbo gets you around 26 miles per gallon in the city and 31 miles per gallon on highway on front-wheel drive. And once you go turbo, that number drops to about 22 miles per gallon in the city and 27 miles per gallon on highway. From what I've seen in the wild, most CX-5 turbo owners are seeing high 20s if they drive smart, but it's definitely thirstier than the Sportage hybrid. So yeah, if fuel economy is your top priority, Kia's got the clear edge, especially if you're commuting or putting on serious miles. But if you're willing to trade a few miles per gallon for a more engaging drive and better overall dynamics, the CX-5 still makes a strong case. So yes, if you ask me which one I'd rather drive day in, day out, it's the Mazda. No hesitation. It's not just that it's quicker with the turbo, or that it shifts better. It's how everything works together. The steering, the brakes, the suspension. It feels like it was built by people who actually care about driving. The Sportage is a great SUV if your priority is comfort, tech, and efficiency. It's quiet and smooth, and gives you options with the hybrid. But the CX-5 is the one I'd pick if I knew I was going to be behind the wheel a lot. It's not just more fun, it's more satisfying. And that's not something you can always measure on a spec sheet.